All right, let's go. Let's go. It is finally time for hockey. Training camp starts today. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, did we start off yesterday with a bang. So I'm sure there'll be some comments. We'll talk about it a little bit. Now, yesterday, as we were going live, obviously the whole Zito's press conference happened, and we found out about Kachuk and Nosek, and I guess it's Kunin instead of Kunin. I've been calling him Kunin. And Zito also mentioned Tyler Mott a couple of times in reference to talking about how Nosek is out. So I think the assumption there would be that either Kunin, most likely Kunin, but maybe Tyler Mott has a chance to make the team as depth. But obviously, with Nosek out, that's going to change things how it works all the way around, because we've been assuming that the $4.5 million in cap space that we're going to need to clear when Chucky comes back would be Rodriguez and Boqvist. But now with Nosek out, and it didn't sound, I'll be honest with you, from the body language and the way that Maurice was talking, it would not surprise me if at some point we found out Nosek was out for the year. And I'm not predicting that, but Zito didn't have a happy, positive vibe to it. It definitely sounds, the way he put it was, it's going to be, at least several months or something to that verbiage. So it wouldn't surprise me if we found out at some point that Nosek might miss the whole year. It didn't sound like it was just a simple injury. So what that does is it just changes the perspective on what moves we might need to make salary cap wise when Kachuk comes back. So we'll see. It's nobody asked him about Rodriguez, and one of the things that I think that goes on in these press conferences, people have asked me, why I haven't reached out to the team or what my relationship with the team is. I'm not credentialed media, and from the sound of it, I made mention of this when we did the whole Jones for Spencer Knight deal, and in the subsequent press conference, not one single question about Spencer Knight. It was all about Jones, which made me feel like the media was given their talking points and told specifically not to ask about Knight. I got the same sense yesterday with nobody asked about, hey, the salary cap and Rodriguez. Nobody asked anything about if there's even a plan. So to me, that feels like it was purposefully done, where the Panthers would tell the media what they can and cannot ask. I'm going to assume that, because otherwise that would mean that nobody thought to ask that question. And I don't really think that that's the case. I think they're being told, if you want to cover the team, these are the subjects that you can talk about, and these are the questions that you cannot ask. So the one thing that came out of yesterday, however, was Brad Marchand. And I've seen a lot of opinions about this. I've seen probably maybe 10 to 20% of people feel like Marchand was trolling everybody when he made the comments about the salary cap. So in a couple minutes here, I'm going to play what he said, and then I want to get your opinion. I'll give you mine. You guys know I did a video about the whole taxes thing and everything earlier on, and that's been a big point of contention. But Marchand just lit a whole fire, right? Marchand lit a whole entire fire under the situation. So I'm going to play. If you haven't heard it, it's not all that long. If you have, you know what he said. I'm going to play it now. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. And the thing about it is that Marchand just brings it up. He's asked about it after the fact, but originally he just brings it up on his own. So it's 3.5 minutes. I've cut it and just put it on the channel. So here's what Marchand had to say.
You call a spade. If we were not in a non-tax state, it wouldn't have worked out probably for two guys. Two guys probably would have been leaving in that situation. So that's a benefit that this team has that we were able to utilize and make work. But I'm thrilled to be here for the next 6 years, and like I said, it's I've said this before. I mean, it's a gift to play in this league. It's a privilege. It's not a given, and when it's done, it's done. You never get to do it again. So one of my coaches early on told me, and I'll forever live by that. I want to play till I get kicked out of the league. And it's hard to walk away from this. It's all I've ever known and all I've ever wanted to do. And I just have always felt like it'd be an injustice to my younger self. The one that always hoped and dreamed to be in the NHL to walk away from it before I couldn't play anymore. So that was the goal, to make sure that I could play as long as I could. And very honored and proud and thankful that Viola's and Billy gave me that opportunity.
I have one for you, but I want to follow on something you said real quick, just on the no tax thing. Was that prevalent in your negotiations? And do you think that is as big of a deal as like some people like to make it seem? But just to hear you mention it.
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely a benefit to, for instance, if you go to a Canadian team, it needs to be 15% more on a contract to be the same as what it is here. Does it matter for every player? No. But if you're now dealing with the contracts that you're looking at, it's absolutely going to take place, or it's going to be, something that you look at. Not only that, it wasn't probably as big of a factor back when some teams weren't as competitive or weren't run as well. Because that is the main thing. You care about the hockey, you care about the organization. So you're not going to walk into a non-tax state and if the team's not run well or if they're a bad team, but that's just not the case anymore. These teams, non-tax state teams, are some of the best run teams in the league. So they're the teams you want to play for just because of the ownership and the management and how they approach the day-to-day game. You want to be part of that, and they're all contending teams now. So when you look at the teams that you want to play for, they're great organizations now. They're great contending teams, and they're the best places to live. And then, the non-tax on top of it, it's an opportunity for teams. Look at, you can pay some of the best players in the game a couple $1 million less, and they still net more money than, the highest tax state teams, and they're able to spread that around and bring more players in. So you can't say it's not a benefit. It absolutely is, but it's not on every contract. It's not for every player. But now with the way that, again, they're all contending teams, guys are just willing to take less to come here and be part of it and have a great lifestyle.
Now, at the end there, this is my opinion. He kind of gives it away a little bit. Now, I'll get to the trolling thing in a second. But the last thing he says there about guys are willing to take less to come here, that kind of contradicts that his earlier part to his statement, because what he's alluding to, he says, if you're going to go to a Canadian team, they're going to have to pay you 15% more to get the same amount of take home. And I'm not going to get into the intricacies of the math and all of that and exchange rate and all of that. Let's just assume, for sake of argument, what he is saying is genuine and he's not trolling and all of that. Okay. But at the back end of it, he says players are willing to take less to come here. So what he's alluding to in the beginning part would be an example of his salary is what, 5.25. So 15% more of that would be about another 700 and something thousand. So basically what the math would equal to is Toronto would basically have to pay him about $6 million, maybe a touch over that, to be equal to the same 5.2 he's making with the Panthers. But he's saying that players are also willing to take less to come to the better run teams, quality of life, et cetera, et cetera. Now, my opinion has always been it is some kind of a factor. when you look up the cumulative thing, the cumulative taxes, it does, and it really opens up your eyes when you look at, like, when I researched about Toronto, cumulatively, it's like 53 to almost 57% of your income at that level is taken, where if you're in a non-tax state, it's closer to only 37% here in the United States. So I don't necessarily feel like the issue really isn't so much between a state like Massachusetts and Florida. That's enough of a difference. Like here in Maryland, I believe it's like 5-6% is the state tax. But when you start adding in everything that you have to pay in Canada, it's impossible to argue with the math that it's different. That part, it's really not in dispute. The question is, what the way he words it kind of alludes to the idea that if Toronto would have been able to pay him 6.2, he would have gone to Toronto because that would have been equal to what Florida was offering him at the end of the day. And I don't think that that's the case. I don't think he's meaning to say he would have gone to Toronto, but they would have had to offer him 6.2 for the pay to be equal. I think maybe Toronto would have had to offer him 7.5, maybe 8, because what he also said at the end was that the players are willing to take less. So he did clarify there at the end that he's not saying that if everything was equal, he would have gone to a Canadian team or players would go to Canadian teams. He's also adding in the factor of, okay, Canadian team's going to have to pay 10 to 15% more for things to be equal. And because of the advantages of playing in Florida and the way the organization is run, etc., that players are also willing to take less. So when you add up the numbers, not only would a team like Toronto have to pay him 15% more for the contract monetarily to be equal, then Toronto would have to add on maybe another 10, 15% so that Toronto would be actually giving him more money at the end of the day because, like he says, players are willing to take less to play in some of the places like Florida, Vegas, etc. So, of course, people are jumping on it. Some people think he's trolling. Now, the original response he had, he brings it up on his own. He wasn't asked specifically about the taxes. The follow-up, he was asked about the taxes, but the first part, he just brings it up on his own. To me, that seems like maybe he could have just been trying to stir the pot a little bit. I don't know. I've not watched his interviews in Boston and everything like that. I've seen some people on Twitter thinking he's trolling. And then, of course, there's other accounts using it as a direct evidence that it's an advantage. So I guess the point to the whole thing would be, if you wanted to just agree for argument's sake, if you wanted to say, okay, fine, you know what, we agree with you, right? What would even be the answer? Now, of course, some people might just say, stop voting for politicians that take 55 to 60% of your income. There's that, but that's not really a solution, immediate solution to the problem. Some people have suggested there should be different caps, this, that, and the other thing for teams that don't have taxes and do have taxes. Some people have said, and this was an interesting idea that I thought about, to make a team's, and I don't know how you would even do this, but making a team's salary cap the net. So in other words, the Panthers would have a cap number of what's the net amount that players are going to get after taxes and what a team would get in Canada, what players would get in Canada. But then you're going to get into the crazy intricacies of, will some guys have more taxes taken out or less taxes taken out because they're single or they're married with 3 or 4 kids? That solution doesn't seem very viable to me. So with that being said, I'm going to go back to the chat, and I just want to see what you guys have to say. But I found it interesting to say the least, because you can't argue the math. I mean, you can't argue the math is there. And I suppose what my video ended up discovering was that if you added it across the board, yeah, at some point you would end up with being able to have like one more $3 to $4 $5 million player on your roster, but it would also have to be under the circumstances, kind of what Florida has, where everybody's willing to stay for less money and stick around. And by the time you get to that point, the amount of consideration that the taxes are being given by each player, just like Marchand says, it's up to each individual player. The part where he says he doesn't think it would have worked out for him if it wasn't for the taxes, I kind of think he's trolling a little bit there, because I think for him it was the term. I think him getting the number of years that he got, in my opinion, but he could just be being completely honest. But with somebody like Marshy, there could be a balance there in between. You know what I mean? All right, so let's see what we got here. Kane says, yeah, they just want an excuse to hate us. Where Jason says, I hate how people use the no state tax as an excuse after we put in the work and built a great team over time. The no tax thing helps with re-signing, but as he says, guys want to take less. And that's part of the thing, is like, we didn't build the team. We didn't build the team through the no taxes, right? Tkachuk was a trade. Reinhart was a trade. Bennett was a trade. We drafted Barkov. We drafted Ekblad. We overpaid at the time for Bobrovsky. Lundell was a draft pick. Luosterainen was traded in with the Trocheck thing, right? Who's left? Samoskevich is a draft pick. Rodriguez was a free agent, which nobody was fixing to overpay. And if you wanted to say that Marchand was the first this summer, if you want to say like Marchand was kind of one of the first guys that maybe could have extended at a price that would have been considered, affected by the taxes, maybe. But up to now, there really hasn't been as big of a factor as some people would like it to be, because we didn't build the team by going and getting free agents and paying them a little bit less. Carter says, I'm not sure how it works, but the no-sick news. Oh, you're talking the no-sick thing, right? That would give us some cap relief, Ricardo. Yeah, but we'd still be in a bind when Tkachuk comes back. Yeah. Jason says, let me just say, if Buffalo was a no-state tax, would anyone be hating on them? No. Or Pittsburgh. Right. Remnant says taxes are just higher in Canada as well, so Toronto would need a real lucrative deal. Right. They're going to have to pay him more. Right. It's not just that. I mean, it's a combination of factors. I don't think he was trolling. To me, I don't feel like he was trolling. And yeah, Jason says the only issue is only being talked about because everyone hates us. Vincent says no contradiction there. Both things are true. The perception, however, that's what matters. When it's one player, looks like whatever. But look at Tavares. Right. I don't think he's meaning to contradict himself. I think what he says at the end is a contradiction to how people are going to interpret what he said about it wouldn't have worked out for him if it wasn't, for the taxes thing. I think the way people are going to interpret that, him at the end saying that he would have, taken less to stay, I think that's, in my eyes, the contradiction. Not necessarily what he was meaning, but in how it's going to be interpreted. Vince says his deal is a robbery that cannot compete with any other deals the Panthers have. But when you look at the whole roster, a bit less for taxes for the team doesn't matter. The perception, right? The Panthers get a discount on the scale, right? Greg says maybe throw a little shade at player taking $14 million plus eating cap room too. Maybe. Yeah, and then they paid for Bouchard, right? Exactly. Hey, I got a super chat. Hold on. Hey, MJ, how you doing, bud? Good to see you. Thank you, MJ. Thank you, buddy. He says, Jaws, how you doing? Good to be back on here for another season of Panthers hockey. I know we already said this, but I hope everyone had a good summer. It's been 3 months yesterday since we won another cup. Headlines momentarily. Thank you, sir. Much appreciated, brother. Thank you, brother. Great White. He says, I think Cooper Black is ready for an NHL start. Jaws, or my thoughts, or is it too soon? Well, I don't want to see it because that means somebody's hurt. So there's that part. I'd love to see it. I mean, I honestly, how many games can he play without blowing a year? Is it different for a goalie? That's an interesting question. I'd love to see it. I don't necessarily think it's going to happen, especially since we probably won't have the cap flexibility at any point to have 3 goalies. But if Tarasov were to get sick, have a little cough, and you call up Cooper and he gets a game, I'd love that. Yeah, I'd love to see that. But not for an injury. Only if somebody was like, if it was an illness. Craig says, culture of the room and team is a considerable reason why guys will take less. Yeah, it's a combination of reasons. But to say the taxes have nothing to do with it, cumulatively, it's hard to argue that it doesn't. But we didn't build the team that way. You know what I mean? Thank you again, MJ. Oh, Simon says, what's my favorite song at the arena, in my opinion? I had to think about that. I've only been to the one game, even within the last, decade. I had to think about that, Simon. I'm not really sure. Hey, Ghost Slayer. Good afternoon, Josh. Says it's the times we're in the everything's money-related phase of sports. Detroit is critiqued heavily because the team doesn't max out their cap. Yeah. I mean, I don't, to me, I'm like, at some point, I'm like, okay, let's just find a solution. You know what I mean? But honestly, now I believe, let's see, there's no Canadian, there's Canadian teams left in baseball, but it's a little bit different. Really, hockey's kind of of a unique situation. You know what I mean? And I mean, if how much money would it cost Canada for them to say, you know what, we're going to lower the taxes on hockey players. Like it's their national sport, right? They're the ones, they say it's their sport. So why don't the Canadians just get together and get the government to be like, hey, look, we haven't won a cup in forever. This is part of the problem. Why don't we lower our tax rates on our hockey players? So, I mean, you know what I mean? I don't really know what anybody in the States could really do about it. You know what I mean? The bigger issue is the Canadian markets. All right, MJ. Gold Slayer says, as much as I dislike that Viola isn't really a Floridian and more of a New Yorker, he knows what it took to make the team a successful product. Missing since Izinga. Yeah, you need owners that declare, Ross, please sell. Boy, do I agree with that. How worried am I of the Nosek injury? I don't know if worried is the word. I want to see Cunnin, and I know Mott is there. I know Boquist can take 4C, but I don't know if he's going to be able to stay on the team with that high cap hit. You know what I mean? You might end up with a situation where you keep Kunin and Mott and ship Boquist out. And that's what complicates everything right now is, unless somebody gets hurt, somebody's got to go or some bodies have to go. And the Nosek injury definitely complicates that situation. It definitely does. And whether or not like I said at the beginning, I hope he's back, and maybe I'm misreading it, but it didn't sound good. It did not sound like he's going to be back anytime soon. And so when you start getting into the cap situation, you know, if Nosik's not going to be back till January, February, if it's that serious of an injury, at what point do you tell him, hey, look, you're going to miss the whole year because we got to have somebody cap wise, you know, we got cap issues. Again, they didn't ask Zito any of those questions, so I can only assume that was on purpose. Nirmac. Well, Marchand kind of alluded to it. Marchand himself alluded to it. Oh, hold on. Hey, thank you, MJ. Thank you, brother. Thank you, MJ. All right, he's got sports headlines. Commanders moving back to DC. Huh. Roman Josi back on the ice after Potts' diagnosis. Verlander's coming back next season. And congrats on Cardi B and Stephon Diggs expecting their first kid. They got busy. Huh. Thank you, MJ. Appreciate that. I hadn't heard that about the Commanders. A funny story about the Commanders. When I'm using AI to create some of the graphics for the football channel, and I'm trying to create the Commanders logos, when I was making my picks, it didn't matter which program I was using. I'm using free programs. I haven't paid for it. But the AI is consistently giving me the wrong logo for the Commanders. They're giving me the circle with the W, but then they're putting the Redskins headdress on the logo for the Commanders. And I couldn't, no matter what prompt I gave it, it would not, AI could not differentiate between the two. So even AI has a problem between the Commanders and the Redskins. They couldn't even figure it out themselves. I thought that was pretty funny. Thank you again, MJ. Yeah, same here, MJ. The city board approved their move back to the site of RFK Stadium. That's cool. Yeah, there were rumors they were going to bring back the Redskins name, but you never know these days, right? Hey, Frank, the Redskins rumor has been debunked. Yeah, I think they're probably just going to leave it the way it is. People have just kind of accepted it. You know what I mean? As far as says, you think Greer can be trade bait? I don't think so. No, because, I mean, we got to keep like Greer and Gadjevich or such, you know, they're on such cheap contracts. Those are the guys we need to play, need to keep. You know what I mean? Hey, Frank. Yeah, rip Steve, man. That was a shame hearing about that. I never met him. I think he friended me on Facebook though. So, but I was only down there the one time. Guitar Crow says, I've never witnessed the massacre, but I'll be tuning in tonight at 8:15. I know. It's gonna be bad. Yeah, I was wondering about that. MJ says he's current oldest player in the MLB right now, will be 44. Jeez. He was a great guy. You met him a few times. Yeah, he seemed like he had a good energy about him. Frank says, no way Nosek is out. We need to keep Greer. Dude is an animal. Yeah, I don't think Greer or Gadjevich are going anywhere. But it's really going to be we're gonna be guessing about it until whatever moves Zito makes happen, unless somebody else gets hurt, you know. But I don't even want to play that game. Like, I don't want to sit here and look at the roster and be like, who would need to get hurt for us to not need to trade Rodriguez when Kachuk comes back? I'm not going to play that game. All right, MJ. Real says, when McDaniel said we're closer to death, you meant this game. Oh, this would be the game the Dolphins will win, though. Guitar Crow. Yeah, I know. There's just only so many things I can do. You know what I mean? I have to focus on the things that I hate to put it that way, but I have to focus on the things that'll bring in income. I just don't have the option right now for a hobby channel, unfortunately. It just, maybe at some point I will, but I have to be realistic about my situation right now. Spross says, I have a feeling Cunnin will be, I keep calling him Coonan. I guess it's Cunnin. You think he'll be able to steal for us? I think that from what I've seen, I agree with you. I think he could be a sneaky good pickup. He's one of those guys that on another team would just kind of, not really make that much of an impact. Kind of like Lorenz, you know what I mean? No disrespect to him, but he fit with what we did so well, and he made an impact. Nearmax says, I don't think Marchand took less. Well, they asked him about the rumor that he might have taken a 1 or 2 year deal, and he shot that down. He said he was never taking 1 or 2 or even 3 years. He said that's what went wrong in Boston. And at the end, that was the last thing he said was guys are willing to take less to stay here. And in fact, I do believe he also mentioned that, they all could have made more money elsewhere. So I'm just going by what he said. Now, he might not have gotten that term anywhere else. I think cumulatively, maybe, he wouldn't have gotten 6 years, but would Toronto have given him, 4 years at $8 million if he had been willing to go there? Don't know, right? It's all questions we're not going to know the answers to. And then, would Leaf fans have been happy with them paying him $8 million? If it would have kept them from signing with us, they might have been, Frank says, we got this guy on a PTO 6'6" defenseman, forgot his name, but he makes hope he makes the team. Doesn't mind dropping the gloves. We can always use more a-holes on our team. Yeah, Harper, I think is what his name is. The only way that he makes the team, in my opinion, is if we trade Petrie. There's just not space. Did you guys also hear they're doing the camp different this year, right? The veterans are not going to be on the ice for the first week. So that whole thing where they kill them for the first 2 days of camp and all of that, they're not doing that this year. So I think that's also part of the reason why they've got so many guys on PTOs is they need camp bodies. So the Nashville, the doubleheader, I don't think we're going to see like any of our normal guys. I don't think any of those guys are going to be out there. I think it's going to be all the PTO guys and rookies on those games. I don't think you'll see any regular players out there, including the goalies. Hey, Matthew, thank you, bud. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, bud. MJ, he says, road headlines, Jimmy Kimmel's show canceled. Jerry quits Ben and Jerry's. I saw a blurb on that, but I didn't read the story. Uber to start doing drone deliveries. That's interesting. So like what Amazon does, another tragic shooting in Pennsylvania, Starbucks workers sue company over the new dress code. What happened with Ben and Jerry's? That's the one I saw a headline about that, but I didn't click the thing. How does Bear? That's like Oates quitting Hall and Oates. What happened with Jerry? Nearmax says, I don't think Marchand or Bennett took less to stay. I think Ekblad was the only. Ekblad definitely took less. That's for sure. Hey, Dana, how you doing? Good to see you. Oh, 2 wrenches in a row there. Look at that. Look at that. Guitarco says we're in for a lot of lazy hockey until April. It's going to be, yeah. It's going to be, we're going to have to make the content fun because we just can't take it too seriously, right? For sure. Holy crap. Whoa. Thank you, Great White. Thank you, brother. Holy for friggin' hell. Jeez. Thank you, brother. He says, let's get hockey night started here on the beach. Go Cats. Man, I'm so glad hockey's back. Oh, my God. You guys have no idea. Well, you do have an idea, but the football, man, Thank you, Great White. Thank you, MJ. Thank you, brothers. Holy crap. Dude, the football, it's so hard. It's so hard. Like, it's so difficult to like watch. I sit there and I'm watching the games and I feel for Kyle because it's just like he hasn't had the hope ripped out from him from the Dolphins just yet. He was genuinely pissed about the first week. He thought we had a chance to be in a 9-10 win team, maybe make a playoff game. And so it's just hard, man. So I'm just so thankful that hockey is back, because if hockey never ended, I'd be happy. Though as soon as the season is over and we stop streaming every night until about a week before camp, I'm just miserable. Just miserable. It's just, when it's what you do day in and day out. And I don't, like the players and the coaches, they're doing real work, so they need a break and everything. But for us, like when we're streaming the playoffs and all of that, it's like, I don't want it to stop, man. It's just it just like clunks off. And then free agency was a dud, right? I mean, we got our guys and then really nothing else happened. Well, I'm so glad hockey's back, because it gives us something to focus on other than all the crazy crap going on in the world. That's for sure. Frank says Harper can take Balinskis' job. Oh, I don't know. I don't think Balinskis is going anywhere. Yeah, I don't think Balinskis is going. He's too versatile. You know what I mean? You can slot him in anywhere you need on the defense, and he'll play solid for you. MJ says Jerry quits due to the company not addressing social issues. Oh, geez. Okay. That's wild. I mean, it's ice cream. What are they supposed to do? I think people all over the place, I think people are just kind of like tired of companies like dealing with the soul. They just want good ice cream. You know what I mean? I think people have just kind of gotten preached to so much to the point where they're like, can I just go to the restaurant and eat my food? Can I just go buy my Ben & Jerry's and have my fish food? Like, we're inundated with that stuff 24/7. Everything, people need distractions. Spy says, so I think Mott or Gregor make the team. I think Mott might. I think Mott definitely might make the team. Zito mentioned him by name and Cunnin when talking about Nosek being out. So I think he might make the team. But I think if Mott and Cunnin make the team, well, Mott's a PTO. If Mott makes the team, I think that's when you might see Boquist get moved. Could be wrong. The company's lost its independence. That's interesting. I mean, it's a company, right? Yeah, you have to do what the shareholders want. That's what ends up, that's what ends up being the most important thing for sure. Real says, this time when we suck in March and April, can we not freak out about it if we're in a playoff spot? Well, what the hell else am I supposed to do then, Real? Right? God, you got to give me some. I got to be able to freak out about something. You know what I mean? Like half the reason why people come and watch the channel is to watch me freak out. It's probably why views went down last year. Nobody wants to see me happy. MJ says, how does Kyle put up with these games? I don't know, man. I feel bad. He's calling the games, and he's just like, I'm laughing my ass off. I'm having a great time. And Kyle he takes it seriously. I feel bad for him. Guitarco says, maybe it was just me, but this offseason flew by probably because we won and all the celebrating. It went fast and it went slow. The hockey news, it was just like nothing going on. That was the slow part for sure. Hey, Colin, who's ready for the Bills and Finns game tonight? Everybody put all your money on the Dolphins to win. Derek, yeah, it's hot here too. It's like going to be 80 degrees here in Maryland. The weather in Buffalo is not going to be a problem tonight for sure. Real says, whatever stream Miami Hurricanes games, they're at least good. My problem is I would only want to do it if I started at the beginning of the season, because I kind of feel like if I started streaming games and then they lost, then it's my fault. Hey, Jason. Thank you, brother. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, bud. Says, shout out to my Aggies win over the Irish. There you go. College football is at least fun. Hey, thank you, MJ. Thank you, bud. Thank you again, MJ. He says, Josh, you touched on the Dolphins. That got me thinking. How do fans of some of these teams continue to cheer for a team that loses year after year? What makes them keep coming back to games? So, well, that's a really good question, MJ. And the answer to that is eventually they're going to win 2 cups in a row. And you don't want to be the guy that gave up on your team now, do you? That's what it is. That's what it is. When it's really in your blood, you don't want to be that guy that gave up on the team. Imagine being a fan of the Panthers and around 2000 being like, I can't, why? I give up. I quit. I'm not a Panthers fan anymore. Right? Now you're that guy that gave up on the team, and all of a sudden now, we're looking at maybe having 3 in a row. I think that goes into it a lot. Thank you again, MJ. Thank you all very much. Yeah, exactly. Great White. As far as says, do I think we re-signed Mikkola during the season? I think he's going to be staying. We're going to have the cap space. I want to know what Bob's going to do. I know I'm a little queasy there. Like I thought for sure, I really did think he was going to extend. And I'm not 100% convinced now that if we win 3 in a row, that he might not be like, deuces, I'm retiring. I don't know. I'm surprised he didn't want to extend. I know he's living the moment one day at a time, and that's great because that's what's worked for him. But let's just enjoy. I'm just going to try to enjoy this year, but there's some questions. There's certainly some questions, but I would think Mikkola is going to get re-signed. I don't know what kind of money he's going to be looking at, but we should have the money to pay him. Frank wants to know, are we the only team in the league without a 3rd jersey? Well, we can't put out the 3rd jersey, Frank, until we don't have – our 3rd jerseys are the ones that are Stanley Cup championship jerseys. That's the 3rd jerseys. They're not going to put out a 3rd jersey until we finish the season where we didn't win the cup, because that's going to eat into the sales of the 3rd. Nobody's going to buy the 3rd jersey if they choose between the 3rd jersey and the Stanley Cup championship jersey. So when we eventually, and I know eventually we won't win the cup, shocking, I know, when that happens, then maybe we'll see that 3rd jersey. That's just my opinion there. Hey, JC. Greg says it does hurt seeing Kyle frustrated. It's hard, man. I feel bad for him. I genuinely do, because I've been there. Look, I mean, I've been in this house 10 years. And 10 years ago, I can remember walking around outside with the dogs, in depth analyzing like the Dolphins offensive line and which guy should go where and who. I mean, like really still being emotionally invested. And within the 10 years that I've been in this house, the Dolphins have taken me from that level of emotional investment to I care, but it's more about just laughing at how bad we've become and just waiting for the whole rebuild again. And that's sad, man, because that's not how I'm naturally built. I'm naturally built to be loyal, and I'm still loyal to the team, but it's just hard to care about them at the same level that we used to. And I know there's a lot of fans that feel the same way. Colin, I'm not sure where the cup ring news comes. MJ, it's 77 in Chicago. Yeah, it's warm. I mean, it's still September, so. Hey, Spaceman. Guitar Crow, is Ryan Tannehill busy? I think Ryan Tannehill got out of the league at the right time. He could have extended things. Like, he could have stuck around as a backup for a few years, but for whatever reason, nobody really wanted him. We got a long way to go because first Tua has to get hurt, and then Zach Wilson has to look like crap before we can even see what Urs might be. Craig, yeah, it was just 30 years ago for you. Yeah. Simon says, what's my opinion about what they have to do for the Panthers? Who they're going to put on weight? Brother, I don't know, Simon. I do not know the answer to that question right now. And I don't even think Zito knows because of the salary cap situation, and Nosek being out really complicates things now, because that's a starter, right? Like, that's an important piece at 4C. We've seen that. We've seen the difference in this team when we don't have the right guy at 4C. So that complicates things. And I trust whatever Zito's going to do. I trust it's going to work out. But I don't even think he has any idea what he's going to have to do right now because of injuries. Spaceman says, if we continue to be more dominant through these years coming, we become the Pittsburgh Penguins 2.0. I think we become the Edmonton Oilers 2.0. What was it, 5 and 7 years that Edmonton won? Would they win 2, 1 and 2, or 2, 2 and 1? I'm pretty sure they won 5, right? Hey, Colby, Puck Empire has Colorado 17 and missing the playoffs. What? What are they smoking? What? Colorado, come on. Is that for real? How the hell? Colorado's like one of the teams I'm not interested in playing in the Stanley Cup final. 17. And he says it's interesting you say that because teams like Leafs, Jackets, Raiders, Rockies, etc. lose year after year after year, yet somehow they still have fans. Yeah, you don't want to be the one that gave up, right? Can't do it. The Browns too. Yeah. I think I see another couple of super. Hey, thank you again, MJ. Thank you, brother. Thank you, MJ. He says, Jaws, I got another one. Of all the fan bases and sports leagues out there, which team would you love to finally win a championship? I'll go first. Cleveland and San Diego Padres. You know who I'm going to pick? The Bills. The Buffalo Bills fans deserve their team to win a freaking championship. And that goes all the way back to all of the years that they beat Marino and the Dolphins to get to the Super Bowl, to get to the AFC Championship game. And you had to figure as a Bills fan, they knew they were winning the Super Bowl. And then they lost like 14 straight. And then how it's gone for them. If there's any fan base that deserves for their team to finally win, to me, it's Buffalo. To me, it's Bills fans. Because they have stayed rabidly loyal to that team regardless of what happens. And, you know, the whole what was that? The Music City Miracle that year. I mean, that was the team they thought had a chance, and with Flutie and all of that. So, yeah, I think Buffalo team, Buffalo Bills. Why not? Colby, did I see what I didn't see the Vasilevsky press conference. No, I did not, Colby. Yeah, MJ, you like to see a team that's never won. Yeah, for me, Buffalo. Yeah. Longing for the Wannstedt era, right, Craig? Hey, thank you, Colby. Thank you, bud. He says, please live stream the UF versus UM. When is that game? When is the UF-UM game? Maybe I can convince Kyle to do it. Is this Saturday? If it's Saturday, I'll talk to Kyle about it. But it just has to be. I have to put this out there. If we stream the UF-UM game and then the Canes lose, not my fault. Don't come for me. Not my fault. I didn't do it. Okay? Not my fault. Because a couple of years ago, the Marlins were doing pretty good, and Rosado got us to stream a Marlins game, and they lost that game in like 9 of the next 11, and they just fell off a cliff as soon as we streamed the Marlins game. So be sure that you really want us to stream that game, because I'm just saying. MJ, yeah, they won 5 non-consecutive in the 80s. Yeah. JC says, what tour do we get tonight? The mixed version. We're gonna get the mixed version. He's gonna show up and play better because it's on a big stage. I don't think physically. I think physically his skills have diminished between the injuries and the concussions. I don't think he's the same guy anymore. I don't necessarily think, I mean, he's always had his limitations, but he seems not right to me. I honestly feel like the concussions, that last one might have taken something out of him in physical ability. Derek, yeah, and Isles had 4 in a row too. Yeah. Great White says, I wish I could be a Dolphins fan, but I'm in Clearwater, so you go with the Bucks. Smart move. Smart move, Great White. It's probably yeah. I'd much rather have Baker Mayfield as my quarterback. That's for sure. Colin says, I think Bob will stay, but I wouldn't be surprised if he wanted to retire. Yeah. I mean, to me, that feels like one of the only reasons that he wouldn't have signed an extension this year. I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to. It'll all come out in the wash, but it's going to be a lot of questions going into next season. You know what I mean? Because you just never know if Bobrovsky's going to sign a 3-year minimum wage deal so we can sign McDavid to 12 or 13 million and really piss off the league. Not that I think it could happen, but boy, I want to watch that movie. I want to watch the movie of when Bobrovsky signs a 3-year deal for $1 million so that we can sign McDavid at a much lower price. And then after McDavid signs, he goes out there and talks like Marchand did and said, well, the Panthers could pay me a lot less because of the taxes. I want to watch that movie. That sounds like a fun movie. But it ain't never going to happen. Spaceman says people are tired of the Panthers like how they're also tired of the Chiefs always making the Super Bowls. Bills fans like Panther fans of 424. Yeah. So MJ, he says Music City Miracle was 25 years ago. So I got a story about that, MJ. So my ex-wife was born in Rochester. So she was a Bills fan. And Kyle was just a baby. He was 1 year old. And we watched that game, obviously. And I still remember to this day, I've got Kyle in a rocking chair and I'm rocking back and forth. Buffalo scores. And my ex-wife is jumping up and down. We're going to win. We won. We won. We won. And she's jumping up and down, yelling, we won, as the kick return is becoming more and more disturbing. And she starts slowing down. First it was like, we won, we won, we won, we won, we whoa. And then she just got dead silent. She got dead silent when it was returned for the touchdown. She walked away outside, and MJ, she never watched another football game. She completely walked away from the sport and never watched another football game. And I can't ever forget that freaking moment because I was laughing. Oh my God, I was laughing. I was shaking so hard I thought Kyle was going to fall over to the other side of the rocking chair. JC says, I drive by the park this morning and I saw a bunch of orange cones. There was a strong wind and seemed to be doing a good job holding back some down tree and limbs. I said, put them on the O-line. Wannstedt wasn't great in Chicago, no. Saturday at 7:30, Colby. Let me talk to Kyle about that. Let me talk to Kyle about it. Let me see what he has to say. He might not want. He might. We'll see. We'll see. I don't want to make any promises. If it was a day game, I might have a better chance of getting him to do it. Hey, Spaceman. Colby says UM will win 45-3. Yeah, Rosado. Where is Rosado? He loves every sport. Yeah. So we got another request to stream it. Do the Canes game and check out Carson Beck. Hey, how can I? Well, I've got YouTube TV, so it should be. What channel is it going to be on? I guess it's national TV. It's Canes, right? Yeah. Let me talk with Kyle about it. I'll bring it up. I'll bring it up to him. Dolphins tank for Beck, right? Spaceman says Kyle was training the World Series games. Last year during the Panther games. Yeah, after the games, right? After the games were over. Colby, I agree. He says I'm really high on Cooper Black. There's something about his personality that I believe elevates him as well. Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see. I don't think he's going to get any games this year. I just hope that this year he's the main guy at the AHL. Like he gets the starts when they make the playoffs. He's the playoff goalie. I was disappointed last year that he wasn't. Spaceman, yeah, no, I won't waste my time on the Marlins. That's for sure. I think I see something else. Hey, Derek. Charles says, if the Dolphins somehow win today, do I see their season getting better? I have to say yes. If they somehow manage to win this game, it's going to give them the confidence to do things like beat the Jets and Carolina and stuff like that. But do I think that they would suddenly become a playoff team? Probably not. Probably not, but it'd be hard to say that it wouldn't improve the season, right? Hey, thank you, MJ. Thank you, brother. Thank you again, MJ. Thank you, bud. He says, question of the day. Of all the teams in the past who won their first championship, besides the Panthers, of course, which one would I love to be in attendance for? I'll go first. Saints in 2010, Bulls in 1991. MJ, you took mine. The Saints. Yeah. That's the one that immediately came to mind before I read your comment. Certainly the Saints. So if I had to pick another one, I mean, I know it wasn't their first championship, but the one that the Cubs won, quotes, recently, like I would have loved to have been there, right? You know, I grew up, you know, before there were the Marlins, I grew up listening to, you know, Harry Carey and watching him because we had, was it WGN? Is that the Chicago station? We got WGN down there. We had TBS, WGN. And so the Cubs games were always on TV. And so before I was a Marlins fan, you know, we liked to watch the Cubs. We weren't really Cubs fans because they sucked, right? But it was fun to listen to Harry Carey. So I wouldn't have minded being at that one. MJ, yeah, she was a Bills fan. I can still remember it, man. It's funny as hell. Derek, yeah, Caps in 18, Cubs in 16. Yeah. Silva. So Marchand basically said, you know what, I'll just make that video public. Hold on a second. For those of you who just want to see, I'll play it. I'll make it public. I had put it on the channel and just made it private so I could play it here, but I'll just make it public. Boy, my glasses fogged up. I'm just going to make it public. All right. So if you want to see what Marchand said specifically about the taxes, I just made it public on the channel. It just says Panthers Marchand on taxes. It's nothing fancy. It's 3 minutes and 25 seconds. And that's what he said. And so there's some people that kind of feel like he's trolling or not. And we discussed it. I'm going to put a video out about it, or probably. I'll just let people watch the live stream now that I made that public. Yeah. Craig says to the Canes, Do the Canes game, eat pizza, and enjoy a decent Miami football team. Yeah. Well, Donna works till 4, so I'll be giving up a night off with my wife there. So it better be a good game. That's all I got to say about that. Because I'm already giving up a night tonight to the stupid Dolphins. I don't mind giving it up for the Panthers, obviously, because she'll come down there and watch some of the games with us. But I got to give up tonight for the Dolphins, man. You know what I mean? So we'll see. Maybe she'll want to watch a bunch of college kids running around in tight pants. You never know, right? Maybe I could convince her to come down and watch the game with us. Hey, David. Yeah, we're ready for our ass whooping tonight. Yes, we're definitely ready for our whooping tonight. Yeah. Damien says, I heard that we're linked to Crosby, but the rumors died down because he's staying in Pittsburgh. You've been listening to Trey too much. That's Trey. That's Trey's desire. Trey is desperate for us to trade Sam Miskevich for Crosby. I told him it's going to be Jack Devine, but he don't want to hear me. Where are you, Trey? And he says, I also like to mention Marlins in 97. Yeah, Diamondbacks in 2001. That's true. Yeah, I know, David. There's no way, right? The Lightning in 2004. I don't think I was that invested with. No, not for me. Not for me. Great White says, is Donna still a Cavs fan or did I change her? So she watches all of this, the Panthers stuff. She follows the Panthers. Yesterday, I'm out here at 8:30 at night washing dishes. She's watching Bill Zito's press conference. So I think I might have successfully have her made the change. I think that would be an accurate statement. If she's watching Bill Zito's press conference at 8:30 at night, she could say she's whatever. It doesn't matter, whatever. That's the action she's taking. So I don't know how much of a Caps fan she'll still be, but we'll see. Yeah, exactly, MJ. Dave says, I bet the Dolphins' first Lombardi was a party. Ain't that right? That rhymes, too. Tom says, the current Panthers home jersey made it to the top 140 of Hockey Guy's jersey countdown. He's got a countdown with over 140 jerseys. Like, man, that's crazy. I mean, in a good way, that's crazy. Let's put it that way. The 2001 Hurricanes National Championship game, that would have been one to be at for sure. MJ, yeah, WGN, yeah. Yeah, you grew up watching Cubs games on GN. Yeah. So did I. But I was in Miami watching them. David, you lived in Chicago for almost 3 years. You liked it so much. If not for winter, you'd still live there. That's the one, Craig. 84 Miami versus Nebraska. Yeah, that would have been the one to be at. Oh, boy, what a game. What a game. Halftime quickie, Craig. And no, Trey is home from Thailand, but let's just say Trey is going through I miss my girlfriend withdrawals. Trey is definitely going through some withdrawals. It's okay. We're all here for him when he comes around. He's been here the last couple of times, but he's back in the States. But I think the plan is he's going to try to sell his car around December, and then he's moving to Thailand. As soon as he can sell his car, he's moving to Thailand because she stayed there. So the time is a little bit different. Obviously, I think he said he's going to be watching the Panthers at like 3 or 4 in the morning or something. Hey, Jameson, you saw the script for tonight. 2 his stats, 7 touchdowns, 2 on the ground, 531 passing yards, 0 interceptions. Now, is that for the rest of his season or is that just tonight? 2 touchdowns on the ground. Oh boy. I don't put any money on that, man. Yeah, David, I understand that. That's the truth, David. I used to go to customs when we went to the Bahamas. Was just one dude, couple of dudes with an 8-foot fold-up table, and they would just open up your bag and they would just touch the top of it. Have a good time. Didn't matter what was in your bag. They weren't looking in there. Silva, yeah, no, he didn't say anything bad. Hey, thank you, MJ. Thank you, bud. Oh boy. He says one more. If the Panthers were featured on the reality show Hockey Wise, which one of the players would be featured? Well, I haven't seen the show. I haven't seen the show, so I don't know the premise of the show. But I would think that the newer married guys, right? Kachuk, Bennett, who got married the year before? Didn't one of them get married the year before? Trying to remember who that was. Was it Rhino? I don't know. Maybe Bob, like chasing around the little babies. That would be fun. It's a Canadian show. I see. Gotcha. Simon, right now the men's channel, let's just say it's in hiatus right now. I have to focus on the channels that I have to focus on right now. I tried to put a lot of effort into that men's channel over the summer, and it was not working. We'll just put it that way. So it's kind of on hiatus right now until my finances get situated and settled. And then at some point, and right now, to be honest, with the political climate and all of that going on, I think I'll stick to sports. I think I just stick to sports and keep my mouth shut. I think that's the best move I can make right now. Holy crap. Thank you, Great White. Thank you, bud. Thank you, bud. Yeah, we go long. We go a little bit long today. Sure. That's what we're doing. Absolutely. Kyle, I don't want to. Kyle's outside. Hold on a second, by the way. Is he doing? Hold on. We're going to do a check on Kyle, see if he's doing what I asked him to do. Okay, yeah. So Kyle is loading and unloading the van and doing a bunch of physical work right now. So I'm just going to hide in here and talk to you all because I don't want to go do all that work. Let him do it. So I'll just sit in here and talk with you guys. That's I'm safe. This is my safe space. He's out there. We got a bunch of stuff in the yard, so let's got to go to the dump. We're going to the dump tomorrow, and I've got him loading all the stuff into the van. So I'll just stay here because I'm safe here from manual labor for sure. It's similar to Real Housewives. Okay, gotcha. Donna might have seen it. Yeah, Bob's wife. Yeah, I want to see Bob chasing around babies. I want to see Bob come home from a game and his wife be like, I've been here for 14 hours. I'm exhausted. It's your turn with the baby tonight. Huh? That's what I want to see. And does Ekblad have any kids? Because I want to live vicariously through his kid. I want to see his kid pull on his beard. That's what I want to see. Is what it is. So they profile different players and their wives' families with hockey wives. Let's see. Let me see what this is. Let's see. Hockey wives. It's not even coming up. Come on, Google. Boy, my glasses keep fogging up. Come on now. Okay, let's see. I see here. 3 seasons of reality. Hold on a second. That's not what I want to click. Okay. I just go to the Wikipedia page. Canadian documentary television series. So it's 3 years old. And third cast of the 3rd season includes, my glasses keep fogging up. This is serious. The wife of Brandon Prust, Jonathan Bloom, Vlasic, Jamie Lundmark, David Perron, and Chris Letang. All right, so it's not like they're going after like the real superstars guys either. Letang-ish, right? But they're going all over the world, I see. Interesting. Who else have they done here? Oh, they've done Peros, Ryan Miller, Getzlaff, Carey Price, Mike Weaver, David Booth. That's interesting. Dustin Brown, Ray Whitney, Dave Tippett. What about Owen Tippett? Is that Owen Tippett's mom and dad? Those are like older players right there. That's interesting. Like the first one was Dustin Brown, Ray Whitney, Ben Scrivens, and Dave Tippett. Huh. Interesting. Yeah. All right, let's see what else we got here. They had Ryan Miller's wife on. Yeah, Dustin Brown. Yeah. Damien says, I saw on Puck Empire that if Kaprizov is available, he might go to the Canes. I mean, somebody's going to have to pay him an arm and a leg. That's for sure. That's for sure. The Canes are always trying. And I don't think they think as excellent of a coach as Brindamore is, they need to figure out offense in Carolina. You know, you have to be able to score. It's great to be a tough team and to win a lot of games 2-1 and 3-2, but you also have to win games 5-4 and 6-5. You have to be able to score some nights, even in the playoffs, even though mostly it's defense. If your offense is that easy to shut down, it gets tough. David says, my favorite part of Marchie's talk was how he made sure to mention the culture from top down. Yeah, I agree. I'll be honest with you, Simon. I don't have much of an opinion on the Rangers' new captain. I don't have much to say about the Rangers. I know some of the fans are hoping that they can rebound. There's a lot of competition for spots 6 and 7 in the East this year, for sure. Yeah, that gets life. Peros, that would have been fun. Is Letang a Hall of Famer? That's close, right? That's close. Oh, yeah, Simon. Barkov is the Panthers at this point. Barkov is absolutely the captain. That's for sure. Colin says, I think the Rangers can rebound, but I don't know by how much. It's a little bit weird without Kreider. That's definitely going to be a little bit different. I've got, like next week, towards the end of next week, I'm going to have my season previews where I've got all the predictions for the teams and the playoffs and everything like that. That's when I'll have to decide if I am predicting a three-peat or not. But at least last year was good. Last year, I predicted they were going to win, and they won. So I'm not worried that if I predict they're going to win again, that they automatically won't. But I don't know. Now, somebody up above had mentioned Puck Empire Colby said, Puck Empire has the Avs at 17, missing the playoffs. Now, I generally don't recommend doing drugs, but whoever put Colorado at 17 missing the playoffs either needs drugs or needs to sell the drugs that they are on, because that's whackety whack. I mean, the Avs at 17, did they suddenly implode over the offseason and lose a bunch of guys that we're unaware of? Did Rantanen get deported? I mean, seriously, how do you have them at 17 missing the playoffs? And who's above them? That's what I got. Colorado is one of the teams I would not be interested in playing in the Stanley Cup Finals because of their speed. So, anything can happen, but I don't know. I don't know. Last year, the year before, the first year that we won the cup, I can't believe it. Every time I say that, I'm like, the first year we won the cup, I can't believe it's coming out of my mouth. I picked the Canes because I thought the Canes would eventually figure it out, but they're not. They're not. And now I did see a rumor. I did see something about the Canes might be able to get Carter Hart if that situation. So that would be different because one of the problems Carolina does have is Anderson's always hurt. Like every postseason, it's like, oh, he's out this game, he's out this game, he's always injured. So it's definitely, and from Carolina's perspective, they've been to the Cup, they've been in the Eastern Conference Finals at least 2 of the last 3 years, and they just can't get over that hump. But if the Panthers don't make it to the conference finals, maybe Carolina will have better success getting over that hump. Damian says, all we need to do is sign Bob long-term, and that's it. Mikkola, don't leave out Mikkola. Mikkola's going to need a deal. Luosterainen's not that far off. But, yeah, Bob, I really thought, and you guys know, I said it multiple times last year. I really thought Bob was going to sign an extension this summer. You couldn't have convinced me otherwise. So why that didn't happen just makes me wonder that if he's considering, if we win 3 in a row, just retiring. Colin, yeah, that's a good point. Samoskevich needs a new deal too. Yeah, which I thought I was frustrated because where's my pictures over there? Ashley got me that picture for my birthday of Samoskevich in 25, but apparently there's a girl that's a Panther fan, and I saw her on Twitter, and she does bedazzled jerseys. And she had finished a whole bedazzled Panthers jersey with Samoskevich 25. And so when they changed it to 11, she's like, no! Felt bad for her. Yeah, he changed his number to 11. Yeah. Matt, MJ says Bob should become the goaltending coach once he retires. Can you imagine a goalie working with Luongo and Bobrovsky? Damien says, what happens if Bob retires? We have to trade for a goalie or sign one? Yeah, I would. Yes. Yeah, because you've got all these guys on contracts that are going to require a top-notch goalie. Cooper Black's not coming in and taking that job. Spencer Knight maybe might have if he would have stuck around, but Cooper Black's not going to just be ready next year to just step in for Bobrovsky. So I would assume that would be the way that we would go. Or we could just give his money to McDavid and just win every game 10-9. I mean, we could do that. But Craig says Bob retires, Cats bring in Skinner and still win. That's funny. That's funny. I mean, Skinner's not great, but he did only allow 2 goals in a Game 7 in the Stanley Cup final. You know what I mean? Like, you can't blame Skinner for them not winning the first year. He allowed 2 goals in Game 7 of a Stanley Cup final. Like, he's proven he can play in big moments. He may not be the most consistent in those moments, but I can also see why they haven't wanted to give up on him. You know, it's tough. David says, I honestly see the Leafs missing the playoffs and then going all in for McDavid. Huh. That's wild, man. MJ says Skinner's not an option, right? Who knew Mackey was a Spinal Tap fan and goes to 11? MJ says the only reason Skinner made it to the finals is Edmonton's offense. I mean, in many ways, that's true. Yeah. So Damian thinks McDavid's going to New York or the Kings. Well, I know he's going to want to go where he's going to have a good chance to win. that would be my assumption, is that if he doesn't win in Edmonton, he's going to want to go where he's got the best chance to win. The Rangers? I don't know. I mean, I guess Shesterkin, right? But you never know, because you don't know what player movement's going to happen and who's going to be signed where and how the cap is going to work out. I wouldn't say it's impossible, but Tampa could also. I just wonder if Tampa would be more attractive to him, right? Yeah, Corey Perry signed with the Kings, right? Damien says, or us. I mean, I cracked the joke about McDavid coming here. But the truth of it is that it's not entirely impossible. It's not entirely impossible. It's extremely highly unlikely. But it's not like physically impossible. I don't know. You know what I mean? I think the league would implode. I think the league would just fold on itself and be like, that's it, we quit. If somehow the Panthers got McDavid. So I don't think it's going to happen, but you just don't know these days, because you just don't know. You never know. You never know how things are going to work out. But I don't think it's going to happen. David says McDavid can't come here, especially if we beat him a third time. He'd be the NHL version of LeBron. Yeah, that's a good point. And he says if Zito trades for McDavid, it'd be like Gretzky going to the Kings in '88. McDavid, Barkov, Reinhart on the first line. Oh my God. Would you even do that though? Right? Like the team is so good, like you couldn't even figure out. I'm not saying there'd be no room for McDavid, but you would end up with like a fourth line of some ridiculous thing like Bennett, Marchand, and Tkachuk. Like, because what about McDavid? Well, no, you'd need Tkachuk up front, but Tkachuk and McDavid, I don't know if they play well or not together, because McDavid's so fast and Chucky's so slow. Right? So it's like, where would you put him? If you add McDavid, Barkov, and Reinhart, you're going to go, what? Bennett, Tkachuk for Hagee, I guess, right? And then Lundell, Lusterine, and Marchand, and then who's out? Who somebody's missing. There's too many guys. It's too many guys. Yeah, McDavid and Crosby, right? Yeah, McDavid and Reinhart didn't have good chemistry in the Four Nations. That's true. That's very true, Real. That's a good point. Yeah. So, I mean, you'd have to move Bennett. I don't know what you'd do. It ain't going to happen, right? It's not going to happen, but it's fun. It's fun to joke about it, because the team is so good. Like, yeah, you could put him in there, but you'd be moving somebody down, right? Because you got to imagine Sam Miskevich and McDavid on the same ice. Like, if you just move Bennett over to wing, right? Because Tkachuk is so slow. I love him. But like Bennett with Sam, or like McDavid with Bennett and Sam Miskevich. Like, you talk about a lightning fast line. That'd be our second line. That's the joke. That's not it. McDavid with Bennett and Sam Miskevich would not even be the top line. The league would never allow it to happen for that reason alone. That wouldn't be our top line. That's the joke. Right? Right? I mean, Barkov with Reinhart for Hagee, like, that's still your top line. So it's never going to happen. MJ says, what's our salary cap right now? Can we afford McDavid or Crosby? right now they can't afford anything. Right now we got to get rid of people. When Tkachuk comes back, players have to leave or a player has to leave. We have to do something. When Tkachuk comes back, if nobody else significant is injured, we have to probably move Rodriguez and maybe Boquist. But in terms of next year, there's theoretical ways that it could imaginarily happen because the cap is going up and everybody is basically already signed except for Bobrovsky. You know, I know there's Mikula too, but theoretically, if McDavid wanted to take a massive discount and come here for 12 or 13 million and Bobrovsky took a discount, it ain't ever going to happen. But mathematically, it's not as impossible. But it's fun to think about because of the ridiculousness of what the lineup would be. But I think Tampa, in all honesty, I think Tampa probably makes a little bit more sense for McDavid. Although he may not want to come to the division of where the Panthers are. He may get sick of it. Yeah, that's what I'm not talking about a trade, Great White. Yeah, I'm talking about in free agency. If the Oilers let him get to free agency and he gets to pick wherever he wants to go, I mean, somebody's going to be offering him $17, $20 million. But that's going to ruin somebody's cap. So what's going to be more important to McDavid, right? Like, he could come to Florida, he could come to Tampa and take a lot less, but almost have like a guaranteed cup. But, you know, it all depends. It's just going to – David thinks he's going to go home to Toronto. I mean, that could happen. That's another spot where he would definitely be – they got to sign Stolars. I think that's the biggest thing, in my opinion, with McDavid not only wanting to win, but what's the goalie situation. So Toronto's definitely an option. Would McDavid put Toronto over the hump to get past the Panthers? Damon says, imagine breaking news, Connor McDavid had to sign with the Panthers to trade for Crosby. MJ, I don't think Belinskas is going anywhere. I think you had said you hate to see either Mikula Kulikov or Nosek is going to be gone. Well, Nosek is hurt and he's out several months, so he's on IR. I don't think it's going to be. It's $4.5 million that we got to make up. That's Rodriguez and Boquist. The problem with moving Mikula, which I don't think they're going to do, the problem with moving Mikula is he doesn't make enough to where you wouldn't still have to move Rodriguez because it's $4.5 million. So moving Mikula wouldn't really do us much good because we're still going to have to move somebody that makes more than $2 million, and that's still Rodriguez. Unless somebody else gets hurt. Kulikov won't get moved either because he's only making like $1.1 million, and it's too cheap. Unfortunately for Rodriguez, if Sam Miskevich can take his job, Rodriguez will be the one that goes, almost a guarantee. Well, they can't. He's injured right now, MJ, so they can't cut him. So Zito didn't sound real optimistic about Nosek. He said it's going to be several months at least. So it's possible that you might get to a point where Nosek is on LTIR for the entire season and not even coming back, which would give us the cap relief for his salary in full if he's not coming back, which would then mean we'd only have to move like $3,775,000 with the contracts, which would still put you in a position of needing to move Rodriguez. All right, David. There's almost no way to do the math. When Tkachuk comes back, there's basically almost no way to do the math where you don't need to move Rodriguez if nobody else is hurt. It's unfortunate, but it's just the reality. And MJ, I would assume we would send Rodriguez to a team in the Western Conference that has a chance to win. I don't think we would send him to an Eastern Conference team that we could later face in the playoffs. And I think they'd want to move Rodriguez to a team that was good. We're not going to just throw him out the door to Chicago, I would assume. But a Western Conference team that, a Vegas, a Colorado, Kings, Edmonton, a team that could use his services, because you never know what injuries happen during the season. They could send him to an Eastern Conference team that we don't really have a big concern about, like maybe a Rangers, but that would be my guess. Dallas is another team. Yeah. Real says, send Erod to the Kings. Maybe they finally beat the Oilers. Craig says, Erod to Colorado. Yeah, we want to see him do well. It's a shame because he's been here for the 2 cups. But if nothing else, Damien says, so if we keep Chucky on LTIR and trade for Cosby, can it still happen? Chucky would have to be out for the entire – he wouldn't be allowed to come back for the playoffs. That's the thing with the new LTIR rules that are now taking into effect this year. If Chucky's going to come back for the playoffs, we're only going to get like $3.8 million, I think, in cap relief during the season if they're planning on him coming back. Hey, thank you, Great White. Thank you, brother. Thank you, Great White. He says, let Kyle do the yard work today. I heard the door close. Let me see. No, he's still working. He must have taken a break. Thank you, Great White. Thank you, brother. Thank you very much, man. Thank you. So yeah, MJ, unfortunately, we're in a position where we expected the cap to be run one way, and then the NHL decided at the last minute that they were going to change the rules for this season, and so now we're in a pickle. Now we already were in a pickle because when Tkachuk came back, if Tkachuk was coming back during the regular season, we were going to always have to move guys. It's just now we wouldn't be able to play the game of Tkachuk is out the whole season and then keep Rodriguez. And then Tkachuk comes back for the playoffs. That's not going to happen. So if you watch the Sam Bennett interview, I put up a short. Sam Bennett was asked about Mackie Samoskevich. Steve Goldstein asked him about Samoskevich. Bennett lit up. His face lit up. And he said he hopes he gets to play with Samoskevich to start the season. He says everybody in camp is noticing how Samoskevich is out there flying around. And he had asked about Samoskevich's ceiling, and Bennett didn't have an answer. He's basically saying that once Mackie understands how good he can be, he's really going to be an outstanding player. That's the Rodriguez replacement. And that's just the way it's going to be. And so the assumption is that when we move on from Rodriguez, Samoskevich is just going to have to do the job, and we're going to have to go through the playoffs and everything without Erod, unless somebody else significant gets hurt that's not going to come back for the playoffs. Because even if they get hurt, but they're coming back for the playoffs, we can't be over the cap anymore. They changed the rule. So even if Ekblad was to get hurt and be out into the playoffs, we still would have to move on because we can't be over the cap in the playoffs. Strafasi says, Ovi got hurt in practice. Did that just happen right now? Hopefully he's okay. Is he hurt or is he injured? Like they like to say, is he hurt or is he injured? I hope are you talking about just right now? Yeah, that's the last thing anybody wants to see. You know, hopefully it's nothing major. So that's the way it rolls, and we're just not going to know. We're just not going to know. We've got I think we counted them up 7, 8 guys, maybe more than that on PTOs. So we're just not going to know who's coming and who's going. As things go on, and then as other players get injured on other teams, it could happen where another team calls up and says, "Hey, we really need Rodriguez. We lost the guy. Here's what we're offering you." And we may move him sooner than we would have to because the return could be, better than what we would get if we wait until we have to. Lower body, Strafasi. Well, hopefully he's okay. We don't want anything bad to happen to Ovi. That's not good for the game. MJ says, it's still hard for me to fathom that Ovi is the all-time career goals leader. I'm used to thinking it's Gretzky. Yeah, it's two totally different eras, two totally different players. It's hard to believe that anybody passed Gretzky, to be honest. That I agree with you there. It's kind of surreal when you look at the numbers that Gretzky had, that anybody could pass him, and Ovi, and it's different, right? Because the Oilers dominated the league all those years, where Washington, Ovi, he got one, right? But the team wasn't dominant. They weren't, far and away the best team in the league for so long. So it didn't feel the same. There was a lot of years where Ovi was just doing his thing, but not really getting as much attention because the Caps were, okay-ish, right? Do I think the Caps take a step back or are better? Well, if Ovi's hurt, that's a problem. But I don't think they're going to be as good as they were in the regular season. I think a lot of teams have those spectacular regular seasons and then realize maybe we put too much effort into the regular season and then it's not so good in the playoffs. A lot of teams have had that happen, obviously. So maybe they come back, take a step back, but they're still a playoff team, I would assume. MJ, yeah, I don't think anybody thought Gretzky's record would be broken. Certainly not back then. Always just been so consistently great. You know what I mean? Different type of player, but he's just been so consistently great for so long. So, all right, everybody, I got to roll. Thank y'all very, very much. Amazing first day back. Y'all make this happen. I cannot thank you enough. Now, while I've got y'all attention before I go, don't forget, next week, things are changing. Now, not on Monday. I will not be here Monday because I'm going over the bridge to get the rest of Donna's stuff as she's finishing moving in. Tuesday starts the new show. From now on, this will be 10 to 1. It's going to be a 3-hour stream, and the link will be in the description so that you guys can come on and join, whether it's just on audio, on video. You guys will be able to be part of the stream, which is why I can do it for 3 hours, because I can't talk for 3 hours straight. So it's going to be 10 to 1. So that way, the people that have only been able to come from 12 to 1 will still be able to do it. But we're going to start at 10, and we're going to be that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. So that's going to start on Tuesday. And then what we're going to be able to do for the members is when we have starting in the regular season will be a half hour, 45 minutes before puck draw, whatever. I got to work out the time, but I'll be up here doing a pregame show, pregame live for the members only for when it's the regular season playoff games, Stanley Cup games, etc. So then we'll still be doing our normal stream, but there'll be a pregame that'll be just me streaming, but that will be members only because that I wanted to have something a little bit more consistent for the members because it's hard for me to have the time to do the podcast every day with everything else that I got going on. So that's going to work out for the members to where we got the pregame. You guys know when it is, and it's a set schedule. You don't have to guess because it's before the games. So, all right. Appreciate all the love and support. Thank you for all the super chats. And so we'll see. Well, somebody asked me. Yeah, we're streaming a football game tonight, unfortunately or fortunately. Great White says, do I think Kachuk would ever go to another team if the price was right? Not Kachuk. I don't think so. I don't think he's going anywhere. Definitely not. So, all right, everybody. Appreciate everything. I'll see you mañana at noon.